The alien ships appeared without warning at the edge of the Kepler star system. Commander Kim Hanna stood in the control room of Kepler Station, watching the screen that showed hundreds of strange vessels surrounding them. The ships looked like they were made of living metal, pulsing with green and blue lights that hurt to look at directly. "How many?" Hanna asked her second-in-command. "Lieutenant Park Jisoo." 647 enemy ships," Commander Jisoo replied, her voice shaking slightly. "They've formed a complete circle around us. We're trapped." Hanna felt her stomach drop. Kepler Station was home to 50,000 people, scientists, engineers, miners, and their families. It was supposed to be a safe place, far from the war. Zones where humanity fought against the alien invaders called the Zephyrians. The station was built to study strange matter found in space rocks, not to fight wars. The Zephyrians had been destroying human colonies for 3 years now. They didn't just kill people, they turned them into robot-like slaves, connecting them to their hive mind network. Every world they conquered became another source of workers for their growing empire. Most terrifying of all, they seemed to learn. From every battle, getting smarter and more deadly with each victory. "Commander, they're scanning us," reported Technical Officer Lee Min-ho from his position at the sensor station. "It's not like any scan I've seen before. It feels like they're looking inside our heads." Hanna walked to the big window that looked out into space. The alien ships were beautiful in a horrible way, like deadly flowers blooming in the darkness. Each one was the size of a city building, and they moved together like a school of fish, perfectly coordinated. "What do we have to fight with?" she asked. 12 patrol ships, answered Captain Choi Yuna, who commanded the station's small defense fleet. "They're fast, but they're not built for real combat. We have some mining lasers we could use as weapons, and about 200 security officers with personal weapons." It was hopeless, and everyone knew it. The Zephyrians had destroyed entire planetary defense fleets with ease. What could one small station do against such overwhelming force? Commander incoming message from the lead alien ship communications. Officer Song Dami announced. "Put it on the main screen," Hanna ordered. The screen flickered and showed a creature that might have once been human. Half of its face was covered with metal plates, and glowing wires ran under its skin. When it spoke, its voice sounded like several people talking at once. "Humans of Kepler Station, you will surrender immediately. Your biological distinctiveness will be added to our collective. Resistance is futile. You have 1 hour to comply." The message ended, leaving the control room in silence. Hanna could hear her own heartbeat in her ears. "Commander, what are your orders?" Jisoo asked. Hanna looked around the room at her officers. These people had served with her for years. Some had families on the station. All of them were looking to her for hope. For a miracle she didn't have. "We fight," she said simply. "We might not win, but we'll make them pay for every inch." The preparations began immediately. Mining equipment was turned into weapons. Civilians were moved to the most protected areas of the station. The 12 patrol ships formed a defensive line between the station and the alien fleet. As the deadline approached, Hanna made one last decision. She recorded a message on the emergency frequency that would reach Earth and the other human worlds. "This is Commander Kim Hanna of Kepler Station. We are under attack by a massive Zephyrian fleet. We cannot escape, cannot surrender. We will fight to the last person to give you time to prepare. Remember us. Remember what we died for. Humanity must survive." She sent the message just as the first alien energy beam struck the station's shields. The lights flickered throughout the control room as the station's power systems strained against the attack. "Shields down to 80%, Min-ho reported. "They're using some kind of energy weapon I've never seen before." The patrol ships opened fire, their small lasers barely scratching the alien vessels. In response, 3 of the bioships fired back, and 2 human ships exploded in balls of flame. "It's insane," Yuna muttered, watching her ships die. "Or gnats attacking elephants." But Hanna noticed something interesting. The aliens weren't attacking with full force. They were being careful, precise. "They're not trying to destroy us quickly," she realized. "They're studying us, learning how we fight." "Why would they do that?" Jisoo asked. 'Cause they've never faced desperate humans before, Hannah replied. Every other colony they attacked had somewhere to run or thought they could negotiate. Trapped, and we know exactly what they do to prisoners. They want to see what humans are really capable of when we have nothing left to lose. The station shook again as more energy beams hit the shields. In the distance, another patrol ship exploded. But somehow, knowing that they were teaching the aliens about human courage made Hannah feel better. They would fight. They would die. But maybe, just maybe, their sacrifice would help humanity win the war. Admiral Park Ji-ho was drinking his morning coffee when the emergency message arrived at Earth Defense Command. The holographic display showed Commander Kim, Hannah's face filled with determination even as explosions flashed behind her. Her words hit him like a physical blow. Kepler station under attack. Massive Zephyrian fleet. Cannot escape. Cannot surrender. Will fight to the last person, Ji-ho said. Down his coffee cup with shaking hands. He had known Hannah for 15 years, ever since she was a young officer fresh out of the academy. She was tough, smart, and never gave up. If she said the situation was hopeless, then it truly was. Sir, what are your orders? Asked his aide. Lieutenant Colonel Wang Mira. Ji-ho stared at the star map on his office wall. Kepler Station was marked with a small blue dot, far beyond the official borders of human space. The government had built it there precisely because it was supposed to be safe, too far away for the aliens to notice. Get me the Defense Council, he ordered. 20 minutes later, Ji-ho sat in a room with 12 other high-ranking officers and 3 government officials. The discussion was exactly what he expected. Kepler Station is outside our protection zone, said Defense Minister Kim Soo-young. We cannot risk our main fleet for one remote outpost. 50,000 people, Minister, Ji-ho replied. 50,000 human beings? Against how many aliens? He said 600 ships? That's larger than any fleet we've ever faced. We would be sending our people to die for nothing, General Lee. Jinwoo, the oldest officer present, spoke up. Even if we could get there in time, which we can't, we don't have enough ships to fight a fleet that size. The aliens would destroy us and then move on to attack our core worlds. Ji-ho listened to the debate for another hour. Conclusion was always the same. Kepler Station was too far away, the enemy too strong, the risk too great. The math was simple and brutal. This meeting is over, the defense minister announced. We will send a message of sympathy to the families, but we cannot mount a rescue mission. After the others left, Ji-ho remained alone in the conference room. He pulled up the personnel files for every officer at Kepler Station. Young faces, old faces, people he had trained, people he had served with, all of them about to die. Because it wasn't strategically sound to save them. He made his decision. That night, Ji-ho began making quiet phone calls. Not to government officials or military headquarters, but to ship captains scattered across human space. Old friends, former students, officers who owed him favors. He used a code phrase that had been established years earlier for exactly this situation. The family needs help, he would say. Are you available for a reunion? One by one, they all said yes. Captain Song Dami commanded the battleship Thunderchild on patrol near Mars. When she got Ji-ho's message, she told her crew they were heading to a training exercise and changed course toward the outer system. Captain Choi Min-yuk was escorting a cargo convoy when he received the call. He left his escort duties to the other ships and headed for the secret meeting point. Captain Park. Soon-ji commanded a carrier full of fighter pilots. Her young pilots were eager for real combat, tired of endless practice missions. They didn't ask questions when she told them they were about to get their chance. The meeting point was an old asteroid mining station in the Proxima system, abandoned for 10 years. One by one, ships began arriving. Not just military vessels, but civilian ships too. Cargo haulers, mining ships, passenger liners. Their captains had heard the call through the network of spacers who considered themselves one big family. By the third day, nearly 400 ships had gathered in the shadow of the asteroid. It was the largest human fleet ever assembled, and it had come together without any official orders. Jiho stood on the bridge of his flagship, the carrier defiant, and opened a communication channel to the entire fleet. "I want to be clear about what we're doing," he began. "This is not an official mission. The government did not authorize this. When we get back, assuming we do get back, there will be consequences. Courts-martial, prison time, the end of our careers." He paused, looking out at the hundreds of ships floating in space around him. "Kepler Station has been under attack for 5 days. By the time we get there, they might already be gone. We might be flying into a trap. We might all die for nothing." Another pause. "But there are people. We don't leave our people behind." The response came immediately. Every ship in the fleet sent the same message. "Understood, Admiral. Ready to proceed?" The fleet began to move, not in the tight formation of official military operations, but spread out across dozens of different routes. They would approach Kepler from all directions, using every trick of navigation and stealth that human pilots had learned over the years as they jumped to hyperspace. Jiho opened a private channel to his daughter, who was serving on a patrol ship near Earth. "I'm sorry, Yuna," he said. "I know this will be hard for you. But some things are more important than following orders." The message would reach her long after he was gone, heading into the unknown to save people he had never met, because that was what humans did for each other. 3 weeks had passed since the alien fleet first surrounded Kepler Station. Commander Kim Hanna walked through the corridors, noting how quiet everything had become. The constant hum of the station's systems seemed louder now, as if the machines were trying to fill the silence left by frightened people. The siege had settled into a horrible routine. Every few hours, the Zephyrian ships would test the station's defenses with small attacks. They would fire energy beams at the shields, probe the weapon systems, and send small scout ships to examine the station's weak points. Then they would pull back and wait like cats playing with a mouse. "They're learning," Lieutenant Lee Min-ho reported during the daily briefing. "Every time we respond to their attacks, they record everything. How fast we react, which weapons we use, where we position our ships. They're building a complete picture of our capabilities." Hannah nodded grimly. She had noticed the same thing. The aliens weren't in a hurry to destroy the station. They were studying it, learning everything they could about human military tactics and technology. This knowledge would help them when they attacked other human colonies. "What about our people?" she asked Dr. Kung Sun-ho, the station's chief medical officer. "The stress is getting to everyone," he replied. "We've had 47 cases of panic attacks this week. Food supplies are holding steady, but people are scared. They know what the aliens do to prisoners." The stories were horrifying. Humans, captured by the Zephyrians, were turned into cyborg slaves, their minds connected to the alien hive network. They became living computers, their creativity and individuality erased. It was a fate worse than death. "Sir, I need to show you something," said Chief Engineer Choi Yuna, approaching Hannah with a worried expression. "It's about the alien scanning patterns." They walked to the engineering section, deep in the station's core. Yuna led her to a bank of monitoring equipment that showed the energy patterns hitting the station. "Look at this," Yuna said, pointing to a screen covered with wavy lines. "These aren't just scanning our machines, they're scanning our brains." Hannah felt a chill run down her spine. "What do you mean?" "The frequency patterns match human neural activity. Every time someone makes a decision in the command center, the aliens record the brain waves. They're not just learning our tactics, they're learning how we think." This was worse than Hannah had imagined. The aliens were mapping the human mind itself, learning the patterns of human decision-making. With this knowledge, they could predict what humans would do in any situation. "Is there anything we can do to stop it?" Hannah asked. Yuna was quiet for a moment. "Maybe. I've been working on something, but it's dangerous. Very dangerous." She led Hannah to a secure laboratory where she had been conducting experiments with the exotic matter that the station was built to study. Strange glowing crystals sat in containment fields, pulsing with unknown energy. "These crystals exist in multiple dimensions at once," Yuna explained. "I've been trying to weaponize them, The theory is that if we can create a resonance pattern that matches the aliens' biomechanical systems, we might be able to disrupt their technology. What's the risk? Hannah asked. The crystals are unstable. If the resonance pattern is wrong, the explosion could destroy the station. If it's right, it might take out the alien fleet, or both. Hannah looked at the glowing crystals. They were beautiful and terrifying at the same time, like holding stars in a bottle. How long do you need to finish the weapons? 2 days? Maybe. 3. But Commander, there's something else. The aliens have been changing their behavior. They're getting more aggressive, more focused. I think they're almost done studying us. As if summoned by her words, the station's alarm began to sound. Red lights flashed in the corridors as the voice of Communications Officer Song Dami echoed through the speakers. All personnel to battle stations. Coming alien transmission. Hannah and Yuna rushed back to the command center. On the main screen, the same half-human, half-machine creature appeared. But this time, it looked different. More confident. More certain. Humans of Kepler Station, it said in its multiple voices. Your resistance has been most educational. We have learned much about your species, your creativity, your unpredictability, your stubborn refusal to accept defeat. These qualities will serve us well when we add your distinctiveness to our collective. The creature paused, and Hannah could swear she saw something like amusement in its mechanical eyes. You have fought bravely, but your struggle ends tomorrow. We'll begin the final assault at dawn. You may surrender now and be processed quickly. Or you may continue to resist and suffer greatly before your inevitable conversion. The transmission ended, leaving the command center in stunned silence. Well, said Lieutenant Park Jisoo, trying to keep her voice steady, at least we know when. It's coming. Hannah looked around at her officers. These people had served with her for years, had become like family. Tomorrow, they would all be dead, or worse. Yuna, how long do you really need to finish those weapons? She asked, working through the night. Maybe by dawn. Then we work through the night. All of us. Hannah activated the station-wide communication system. This is the commander. Tomorrow, the aliens will try to take our station. Tonight, we prepare to remind them why humanity has survived every threat it has ever faced. Outside, the alien ships began to move into attack formation, their biomechanical hulls glowing with deadly energy. The calm before the storm was ending. The attack came with the dawn, just as the aliens had promised. But it wasn't the Zephyrians who struck first. Admiral Park. Jeho's fleet materialized out of hyperspace at 17 different points around the Kepler system. The alien ships, arranged in their perfect blockade formation, suddenly found themselves surrounded by 400 human vessels appearing from every direction at once. All units. This is Admiral Jeho. His voice crackled across the communication channels. Execute Thunder Protocol. Show them what happens when they threaten our families. The first wave of attack was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. 30 cargo ships, loaded with nuclear weapons and guided by computer systems, accelerated to maximum speed directly toward the alien fleet. These coffin ships had no human crews aboard. They were flying bombs, designed to scatter the enemy. Formation. The Zephyrian bioships reacted immediately, their energy weapons destroying most of the incoming missiles. But the attack forced them to break their careful blockade pattern, creating gaps in their formation. Second wave, go, Jeho commanded. From hidden positions throughout the asteroid belt, swarms of human fighter craft emerged. These weren't the heavy patrol ships that had been defending the station. These were fast, agile fighters, piloted by the best combat pilots in human space. Captain Song Dami led her fighter squadron directly into the heart of the alien formation. Her pilots had trained for this moment their entire careers close combat, against superior alien technology, relying on human speed and unpredictability to survive. Stay close to the big ships, she told her pilots. Use their own size against them. Can't fire at us without hitting each other. The fighters darted between the massive bioships like angry wasps, their laser cannons carving burning lines. Across alien hulls, the Zephyrians tried to swat them down, but the human pilots were too fast, too unpredictable on Kepler Station. Commander Kim Hannah watched the battle through the sensors. Hope flickered in her chest for the first time in weeks. "They came," she whispered. "They actually came." But the aliens were learning, adapting. The bioships began connecting to each other with streams of energy, forming a vast network that allowed them to coordinate their responses. Individual ships stopped acting independently and started moving as one giant organism. Commander reported Lieutenant Lee Minho. "The alien ships are linking up. They're creating some kind of supermind." The effect was immediate. The alien fleet's response became faster, more coordinated. Human fighters that had been successfully dodging energy beams suddenly found themselves caught in carefully planned crossfires. Ships began exploding throughout the battle zone. That's when the third wave struck. Captain Joy Minuk's destroyer squadron had been hiding behind the system's largest moon. Their ships modified with experimental technology that Chief Engineer Yuna had developed before the siege began. These phase drives allowed the ships to slip partially out of normal space, becoming ghost-like and difficult to target. "Phase drives active," Minuk reported. "We're going in." The destroyers materialized. Inside the alien formation, their weapons blazing at point-blank range. Before the Zephyrians could react, the human ships phased out again, reappearing in different positions to attack from new angles. For a few minutes, it looked like the human fleet might actually win. The aliens were confused, their coordination disrupted by attacks coming from multiple dimensions. Several bioships were destroyed, their living metal hulls dissolving into space, but the Zephyrians had conquered dozens of star systems. They had faced many different types of enemies, and they learned from every battle. The bioships began adapting their energy fields to detect the phased human vessels. The network mind processed the new threat and developed countermeasures. "Admiral, we're losing ships faster than we can replace them," reported Captain Park Sung-ye from her carrier. "The aliens are adapting to everything we throw at them." Admiral Jiho watched the tactical display as more red dots disappeared from the screen. Each dot represented a ship full of brave men and women who had volunteered for this impossible mission. They were dying to save people they had never met, because that was what humans did for each other. "Sir, what are your orders?" asked his communications officer. Jiho looked at the display showing the massive alien fleet. Even with their losses, the Zephyrians still outnumbered the humans 3-1. Their biomechanical ships were stronger, faster, and more advanced than anything humanity possessed. But the aliens had made one crucial mistake. They had learned about human military tactics, human technology, even human brain patterns. But they had never experienced the full chaos of human creativity unleashed without limits.
"Execute final protocol,"
Jiho ordered. From the edge of the system, his flagship began broadcasting on all frequencies. But instead of military commands or tactical information, it transmitted something the aliens had never encountered before: pure human consciousness. Music poured across the void. Everything, from classical symphonies to rock songs to children's lullabies, poetry in 100 languages, mathematical equations that described impossible geometries, the sound of human laughter, human tears, human dreams and nightmares, all amplified by quantum transmitters and hurled at the alien fleet like a psychic weapon. The effect on the Zephyrians was immediate and catastrophic. Their biomechanical minds, designed for efficiency and logic, couldn't process the raw, chaotic creativity of human consciousness. Ships began wavering in their formations as their pilots struggled to understand what they were experiencing. "Now," Jiho shouted. "All units, attack while they're confused." The human fleet surged forward, pressing their advantage, while the aliens reeled from the psychological assault. The psychological attack hit the Zephyrian fleet like a tsunami of chaos. Their biomechanical minds, built for perfect logic and efficiency, suddenly found themselves drowning in the wild creativity of human consciousness. Ships that had moved in perfect formation began drifting aimlessly as their pilots struggled to process the impossible flood of human emotion and imagination. Commander Kim Hannah watched the alien fleet's confusion from Kepler Station's command center. This was the moment she had been waiting for. "Yuna, Are the resonance bombs ready? As ready as they'll ever be? Chief Engineer Choi Yuna replied, her hands dancing over the control panel. But remember, we've never tested these. Could destroy us along with the aliens? Better than becoming their slaves, Hannah said. Launch them. The exotic matter bombs shot out from the station like deadly fireworks. Each one contained crystals that existed in multiple dimensions, programmed to create resonance patterns that would disrupt the aliens' biomechanical systems. The weapons spread throughout the Zephyrian formation, invisible to their sensors, until it was too late. The first bomb detonated near the alien command ship. A wave of energy rippled outward, not the bright explosion of normal weapons, but something deeper and more fundamental. The bioship's living metal hull began to vibrate, then crack, then dissolve as its molecular structure came apart. It's working, Lieutenant Lee Minho shouted. The resonance is spreading through their network. The aliens' greatest strength became their weakness. The energy connections between their ships, designed to create a supermind, now carried the destructive resonance from vessel to vessel. Bioships throughout the fleet began losing cohesion, their living metal reverting to base matter. But Admiral Park Ji-ho's psychological assault was just beginning. From ships throughout the human fleet, new transmissions poured into space. Dr. Kim Salman from the hospital ship Mercy broadcast medical theories that contradicted biological logic. Artist Park Jujan from the cargo vessel Dreamer transmitted impossible paintings that existed only in digital form. Even children from the civilian ships added their voices. Singing nursery rhymes and telling silly jokes, the Zephyrians had conquered dozens of species. Through superior technology and perfect coordination, but they had never faced anything like this, the complete, chaotic, magnificent unpredictability of human nature unleashed without limits. Admiral, the alien command ship is trying to send a message, reported Communications Officer Songdami from the flagship Defiant. Put it through, Ji-ho ordered. The screen showed the half-human, half-machine creature that had threatened Kepler Station. But now it looked different, confused, almost frightened. When it spoke, its multiple voices were no longer perfectly synchronized. What? What are you doing to us? It asked. This is not warfare. This is ... This is ... Humanity, Ji-ho replied. Simply, this is what we are when you threaten our families. The creature's mechanical eye flickered. We do not understand. Your responses do not match our calculations. Your tactics defy all logic. How do you coordinate such chaos? We don't, Ji-ho said. That's the point. We're not machines following programs. We're human beings, and every single one of us is different. Every person in this fleet is fighting for their own reasons in their own way. You can't predict us, because we can't predict ourselves. More bioships were dissolving as the resonance bombs continued their work. The alien fleet's perfect formation had become a scattered mess of confused vessels. Some ships were fleeing. Others were attacking randomly, and a few were simply drifting in space as their crews struggled to understand what was happening to them. Captain, Songdami's fighter squadron pressed their attack, darting between the confused alien ships. This is for everyone they've enslaved, she shouted over the communications channel, her lasers tearing through weakened bioship hulls. On Kepler Station, the staff had gathered in the command center to watch the battle. Civilians who had spent weeks hiding in fear now cheered as alien. Ships exploded in the distance. Children who had been too scared to sleep were laughing and pointing at the fireworks display outside. Commander, said Dr. Kong Sun-ho, the station's medical officer, I'm detecting something strange. The alien scanning beams, they've stopped. It's like they can't focus on us anymore. Hannah nodded. The psychological assault had overloaded the aliens' ability to process information. They were essentially blind. Their superior technology useless against the chaotic storm of human consciousness. The tide of battle had turned completely. Human ships that had been desperately fighting for survival were now pressing forward, driving the confused aliens back. The Zephyrian fleet, which had seemed invincible just hours earlier, was falling apart under the weight of their own inability to understand their enemy. All alien vessels, this is Admiral Park Ji-ho. the Admiral broadcast on all frequencies. You came here to study us, to learn our weaknesses. Instead, you've learned our greatest strength. We are not predictable. We are not logical. We're not like you or anyone else in this galaxy. We are human beings, and we bring the full force of human creativity, human courage, and human stubbornness to every fight. The surviving Zephyrian ships were already fleeing, their biomechanical minds unable to process the reality of their defeat. They had lost not to superior weapons or better tactics, but to something they couldn't understand: the thunderous complexity of human nature itself. As the alien fleet disappeared into hyperspace, the human ships began regrouping around Kepler Station. The siege was over. Humanity had won its first major victory against the Zephyrians, not through military might, but through the simple act of being completely, chaotically, magnificently human.